Hey Jay, you're on mute.
Your audio came out of an unexpected place. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Is
Okay,
it?
let's see here. I need to change my default output device. That's
Oh,
easy.
okay. Is it okay if I call you Jay or you prefer
Yeah.
Jason?
Jay, Jason.
Okay, because your screen name is Jay, and it's just like how I associate it because I keep on
Yeah.
seeing Jay everywhere instead of Jason.
Oh no, that's fine.
Okay. Hey Gretchen.
Hello.
Oh, interesting. Maybe I need to change my. One moment.
I'm gonna go run fill up a water bottle real quick. I'm thirsty. My cat is embodying how I feel right now.
Oh man.
Hi, Scout.
Oh, she's like, stop it.
Okay,
Yeah,
I got my sound sorted out.
cool.
Guys.
Totally. What's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. I feel like I haven't seen you in like a long time.
Feel the same way. Even a day without you, Kevin,
Well, we
Guys,
have a
it's hot.
fuller.
What's going on over there? You're in DC, right, Tully?
Oh, sorry. What was it? I didn't.
I said it's hot in Baltimore. It must be bad in DC too.
I didn't even leave the apartment. I was like, I'm working from home because the AC has cooled it enough.
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
I'm working on like trying to do a lot of packing because we're about to move to London, and but we live in the upstairs that has no air conditioning, and I'm
Oh.
like I need to drink like gallons of water each day. It's so hot.
Yeah, in Toronto, we spent a lot of time outside and like walking between places. So it's just like I had to wear. I'm glad I brought like dry wicking clothes or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh, it's so smart.
I got to see Brendan in real life last week. He was at JupiterCon for the poster session.
Ah, so rad.
That was
That's
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Yeah, the Days Together meeting was amazing. It was super rad. It's all
Awesome.
comes of us. Yeah, yeah. But we should probably. There we go.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, I've lost the minutes, which were right here. There we are. Okay, sorry about that. Right, so I responded to Rob's question about conda configuration. He correctly found a problem with that, but we were never using it anyway, so it doesn't matter. Nonetheless, I came up with a recommendation for how to use it properly in case that comes up. Went back through Jason's stuff, which is now merged. Hooray! And my up next is the same as it was last week because I was at JupiterCon. That's it for me.
Okay, and yeah, so I got through my first pass with some good input from Dan. So of the Ansible work, the automated deployment stuff. Rob helped me out with this Rails environment configuration madness that I was stuck on, and ended up with a solution. I think we're going to end up with a solution that looks a lot like what PatCon had done previously or had suggested in a PR. So last Friday or Saturday, I was able to actually finally start on the like namespace collision and security passes of the Ansible pieces. I was hoping to have something ready to go by the end of August, like ready for the devs to look at and like start playing with doing provisioning off of. I don't think I'm going to quite meet that. because I need to do my reporting for the month for the first time, and it's due at the end of the week. So, but it's going to be a near thing. So I may have something ready to test by the end of this week, or maybe it'll be next week. But it's going swimmingly. Currently, I'm working on the load balancer related bits, because that's obviously an important piece of blue-green deployments. So that's me.
I don't have any dev updates because I haven't been doing any dev lately. I could just bring up the discussion item I had, which is the sysadmin role, because everybody's starting to work on it. But just the fact that, I think I brought this up last week, the fact that in the grant it's written for web monitoring, but we've all kind of agreed it'd be nice if they can like handle other aspects, services across Edgy. And that's put into the resume, or not the resume, the job description. And I just wanted to flag that I'll bring it up to the all Edgy meeting, to the steering committee, just to make sure that we're all on the same page and that's okay. So that's all. Oh, and I guess, oh no, I'll stick to the minutes and Gretchen can update the cyber law stuff.
Oh, I'm just curious because one of the analysts is really interested in stewarding that, but I've only found kind of the like intro document of like, should we ask for cyber law's help? Here's what they do, and here's what our questions are about. But I have looked through the Google Drive and haven't actually found any other information. So I'm just curious, like, you know, what if anybody has like ideas on or knows anything about like what happened.
I think Ray was like the real only one really on top of it, and so be the person to ask, which might be different right now. But yeah, I could try to take a pass and see if I can find something. I did see an MOU from them, but I think it had to deal with Data Together and not web monitoring. But were you able to find like a draft MOU at all, or you just found like these notes?
I didn't, but maybe I just didn't. I was trying to do it quickly, so I was only looking in the folders that like looked really like it promising. But I can look through.
Yeah, I'll try to help out there too, just like to see if I can dig around.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I think Ray is the best reference there. He at one point, I mean, I know that I believe it was the same people. They worked on the terms of use for like the future public instantiation of Scanner, and I had looked at that and gave like pretty high level feedback, as Ray asked me to a while ago now. I don't know what came of that, and I know that my feedback was there are a lot of the key points in the terms of use will be a function of like how we decide to present the software and what functions will be more private or public. And so it was like framed and definitely a good jumping off point. But I don't know exactly what the final state is.
Okay, thanks. I'll do more searching and check in with Ray. Thanks.
Okay, so if that's that, then we can go and move back to those other discussion items.
So for the hiring committee, I saw the message and you guys had reached out for me to see if I could join. Is there any other alternative? Like anybody else that you had in mind? I'm saying tentatively, I do want to help, but with the new role and like everything that's happening right now, it's hard for me to like just say yes off the bat. So I'm just curious if there were any other alternatives. I do, yeah.
I can say the thinking behind picking you is that would get 3 people that are under contract on the committee, just so that we know that there would be hours dedicated to Edgy. Although I totally understand trying to dedicate those tasks to administrative things can be tricky also, so sure.
I realize that too, so that might make a lot of sense. If there was like no better option. But
Yeah, I volunteered, but the trick with me is always if it's during the day and something comes up with the day job, I have to drop it, which is not great.
Let me give you an answer like after the weekend, after we talk to the steering committee and make sure that little like tweak about whether they're web modern related or across Edgy or not, and then because then we still have to wait for that to move forward anyways, and I might have a better idea with that. But I'll say 75%, yes, like more than 50%. The next item was Dan's. Is that like automated, like configuration, or what is it? I read it. It sounded incredible. I didn't understand it other than the fact that if it means I just have to like submit PRs without worrying about config to contribute, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. So I think I don't think it changes anything about how we think about what we're doing now, except in one way. One thing they have that I think we should try to get as soon as we can is, I heard you, Kevin, say that like when we were on Heroku, you knew how to deploy. And then we left Heroku, and you never got that power back, right? And that was a problem. The goal, apparently at Wikimedia, but also definitely at Jupyter, both driven by the same guy, UV Panda, was to make it so that any newcomer to the community who, in their case, like knew nothing about Kubernetes, would be capable of addressing an issue. And they have no person, I think I mentioned it in the post, they have no person on their staff. They do have some paid people, but it's no one's job to deal with operations. So it's very commonly the case that something goes down and like somebody's in a meeting or just busy that evening, and so it doesn't get addressed until, even the next morning. They have some coverage of time zones and stuff, but the idea is that anybody in their community who's free has a shot at this. And by collecting like documentation, published documentation quality incident reports, I think they do a really good job of living up to the goal of openness and making the process accessible to everyone. So that's something we could try to do sooner than later.
I don't know, like the whole breakdown that you gave is amazing. I just didn't have time, because of the DT meeting to like read through everything and kind of respond. But like generally, it's just like all thumbs up if I had more thumbs.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was a pretty cool talk. I don't think the video is ever going to be public. If it is, if I can find some other version of that talk, I'll post it somewhere.
Well, and there's also some very interesting short reads on basically GitOps. Like, that's kind of the foundation of this is
right.
PR gets merged and something changes in production. Like if a maintainer said it was good and it passes the CI, then it should get CD.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of paths to get there. And yeah, I think it's feasible in the midterm to get more of the deployment there fairly quickly. So, I mean, like in terms of like maybe this year, this contract year, fiscal year, or maybe the one after, like not necessarily that far off.
Yeah, that sounds good. I didn't want this post to be received as a stop the presses, let's rethink everything we're doing, because I know we've been how do I say, indecisive on this quite a bit for a long time. So stick to exactly what we're doing now. But the minute that we get one successful deploy out of Ansible, I think we start documenting it.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Cool.
this next one, I just want to mention that following up from last week's meeting, Jason and I have started working on the Amazon Web Services grant re-ask, or not really a re-ask, a new ask. And I'm writing the background stuff and might need some guidance on like, you know, a little bit deeper of an explanation of like what we've used and why and what we haven't used. But I think for the most part, I got that covered. And then Jason is in charge of the details, which will probably need more support.
Yeah, basically, it looks like maybe there's still some stuff that is running on Heroku, like that we're not totally off that yet. So I'll have some questions for Rob about if we have a footprint there, what that configuration looks like. That way I can convert that into an estimated how much I think it would take to do it in AWS for that portion of the infrastructure. You know, it's a real apples to oranges thing, but I can arrive at a decent estimate.
Our usage is so uneven. It might be good to start looking at our costs in terms of like cost per analyst. And then when we start going into like auto scaling or something, we can measure how much that matters. We probably waste a lot just standing that up. Anyway.
How do you think it scales per individual?
Well, right now it's flat because we just run it on all the time, sufficient to the maximum workload. But, you know, if you stood up a diffing server per user or pair of users or something, then you could shut down most of the memory usage, which is probably the most expensive piece for us, is my guess. Jason,
Yeah.
your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, my thought there would be for the grant application, I would just not base it off of any leap through, you know, forward progress for us in terms of
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have questions for you too, because I don't exactly understand. It's like all the new Ansible stuff obviously is just hosts, and those things are all sized appropriately for test. So I actually will have some questions for you about what will be the right host size for these different workloads as we're running them now.
Yeah.
Because just from poking around, it looks like, yeah, that our current production-y stuff is mostly the Kubernetes, like
Right.
VPCs,
Right.
and I'm not really clear on how much of what's being used where. So that'll be a good follow-up. Maybe I can hit you up asynchronously for that part.
Sounds good.
Sort of related to this, you know, looking through last year's ask, it was, you know, largely about data together, or like, you know, a significant portion of it was geared toward the distributed web, and would love to hear an update from the data together meeting. And one thing that Rob mentioned that I sent him a DM for this was that no, we shouldn't be writing in asking for data together services for data together this year. So just curious, like what's the word?
Having you up here now.
This is a little bit noisy. The reason he said that was because they had resources from Compute Canada, and they were working on setting the node up there first. So that's that.
So just stand off to the side.
I'm not sure how
You'll
much
see
I
me
can
right at that
say
door in a minute.
about the meeting on recording. So I'm like, I don't know, maybe we can stop recording, or I can just be very vague.
No, just